Josh Griggs, Pope Josh Griggs Youth Orchestra. President Korean Church and congregation.
Please be seated. Let's pray. Gracious God, thank you for your faithful love and mercy upon us. We are called to love and serve each other in your lovely planet. You said, greater love has one, no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends. Here are your faithful followers who risked their own lives for Korea that they didn't hear about before. They showed your great love, and their dedication and service for our country will remain in our heart as an unforgettable love story. Today we gather together to honor their courage and the determination and to celebrate our lives and your providential guidance for us. Please be with us in your Holy Spirit so that we can enjoy your peace and comfort leading us in this place. We pray for the health and the shalom of the veterans and their families. And we also want to keep President Park and this American-Korean Friendship Society on our prayers for their genuine heart and appreciation toward the veterans. We lift our wishes and prayers to you in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Kim. Reverend Kim, who just delivered the invocation, actually got up at 6 in the morning, went to Gainesville, Georgia, his church band, and then picked up the Korean War veterans from Gainesville area. That's a powerful man he is. Wow, this is a fantastic crowd. We decided to move this podium right here in front of you. You're the one, the reason we have a commemoration. And 740 Georgians get killed in Korean War, never return alive, is the reason we have to see that. I'm standing up here and then leading the commemoration. You're the reason, they are the reason that I'm here, enjoying the night. I am just one of about 50 million people in South Korea. We'll have a consul general from Korea representing the country. We'll thank you, but this we will never not thank to you. You know that. We appreciate you coming, appreciate your services, appreciate your loyalty, not only in the United States, but also South Korea. Thank you for all the guests coming. This is a Friday morning. You're all busy, but you'd rather be here and spend time with the Korean War veterans, our heroes. This is so meaningful morning, and thank you for coming. You're busy, but this is more meaningful. That's why I spent a little time to devote for this commemoration. I want to thank the volunteers, and I want to thank the Georgia Defense Force, Georgia National Guard, for the color guard. It was an awesome presentation each year. This is the 21st year actually Georgia Defense Force actually serves this commemoration. We were handling this event outside when you were young. We couldn't handle that hot Georgia sun in July, late July. So remember, we used to have a commemoration outside, but we had to move it inside the Capitol. And then we moved here the first time once again. I think it's a better location. I think it's a good, convenient for a lot of people. Hope you go with. Very quickly, we got a full program going on, and then I also wanted to share once again the story, war story I have. There's so many Korean Americans, they experience the same thing I have experienced. I was 8 years old when Korean War broke. with me and the school closed, me and other friends, we were playing at the creekside. We're refugees about 45 miles south of my hometown, so we're playing the creek, and all of a sudden we saw, the four of us was there, and then we saw three thunders, the noise up there, and then we saw that the Mustang, one of the fighters, got shot. And coming down to the valley where we were, it's coming, hell was a twist, and coming down. And then crashed. See the smoke comes out. We all went there. 8 years old kids. I just can't imagine what we did. But we left immediately to the valley and ran there and tried to help whatever we can. And nothing we could do. We all saw, I still have an imprint in my brain. This pilot, the fighter pilot's body shattered all over the tree branches. 45 ambulance was turned and it's bended like this. And intestine holding and dangling under the tree branches. We just thought somebody got killed. We didn't know the value until what happened to my life. In 1990, when Desert Storm, the Gulf War started, my son was 16 years old. He got the notice from the government and said, you can come to get a physical test for possibly the draft. And then my son, will be in the Gulf War and desert, the Kuwait or Iraq. And I was thinking, oh boy, my son may not come back from Iraq and desert or Kuwait. And I was thinking, what we got to do with Kuwait? What we have to do with Iraq? Why have to send my son, precious son, to some other country? What for? And then they gave me the thing about that pilot spy. That pilot is somebody's husband, somebody's son, somebody's brother. Never came home. That's a fact. I didn't hear this from somebody. I thought I saw it with my own eyes. And it's still imprint in my brain. Would my son bury like that? Is there nobody can? Maybe the Iraqi kid's going to jump over when they try to do something? No. I don't want to send my kid to trial. But when country calls, there's a duty of a citizen. There's not much we can do. Actually, if we're loyal to the country, we got to do it. Asian Americans, Korean Americans, sometimes they don't look like Americans, but we are part of the United States, integral part of the United States. And my son would look just like me. We've been part of that Gulf War and possibly or Afghanistan and never come back. We have a guest speaker from National Guard be coming here to help us. We have so many our soldiers, our sons and brothers, and the husband and somebody is out there fighting for freedom. Who can enjoy our life. I can say whatever I want to say. I can go anywhere I can go. Enjoying freedom. And our kids, our children, actually doing it. I want to thank you very much for what our soldiers are doing on overseas. I can go on about 2 hours to talk about it. I'm going to stop right here. So, we have a full program. Before I forget, I want to thank again the volunteers and there are so many people doing their great job. Somebody print the banner, said, isn't that nice to do like that? And then Mr. Kim Hong-il, the president of the Korean American Association, they wipe it off and clean up the nice, and I'm thankful. And there are the Korean meal and the American meal will have a caterer the petite violet serve the American food, and Korean meal will come here from a Korean caterer. And at the end of after we leave, and we made commemorate coffee mug. Can somebody bring me a coffee mug, please? And then that coffee mug, my wife told me, who's going to drink coffee with the memorial thing? Well, there are a lot of people who will enjoy it. So this is not normal coffee mug. So we have enough for everybody. So by the way, make sure to bring home, take home one, and then remember Korean War veterans who actually helped us to enjoy the freedom. That's that. I'm going to go into the program. I'd like to invite General Larry Ellis, the former chairman, the current chairman of Frank Blake, who's the chairman of Delta Airline. He's out of town to make it. But we do have a retired four-star General Larry Ellis. He's actually immediate past chairman of the American Korean Society. General Ellis.
Good morning. On behalf of the American Korean Friendship Society and our chairman, Frank Blake, welcome to today's wreath-laying ceremony. For a number of years, and as long as I can remember, being associated with the American Korean Friendship Society, this organization has organized and hosted an annual wreath-laying ceremony. Each year, ceremonies have been held in late July to remember and to honor our Korean War veterans. The importance of July is that the guns went silent on the Korean Peninsula, and the armistice was signed on the 27th of July, 65 years ago. And for all of those veterans serving and that were in Vietnam, they will never forget that day. You just saw a key member of the American Korean Friendship Society standing here, and he has made it his mission to ensure that the great state of Georgia never forgets to remember and to honor our Korean War veterans every July. Mr. Sonny Clark, thank you. Thank you for all you do and further the relations between the United States of America and the people of the Republic of Korea. To remember and to honor is the purpose of our ceremony today. Let us remember the 54,200 Americans who paid the ultimate sacrifice during the Korean conflict. Among those heroes, as Sonny pointed out, 740 Georgians on this plaque that represents the memorial in downtown Atlanta, who gave their lives, and their names are inscribed on it. Let us remember the more than 7,000 Americans, soldiers still missing, and let us pray for the ongoing negotiations to return our missing. Just this morning in the news, I heard 45 containers, the remains of American soldiers being turned over to the United States after more than 65 years. Let us pray for peace and reconciliation on the Korean Peninsula, that the ongoing negotiations will be a catalyst to reunite the people of the North and the South on the peninsula. But let us never forget those brave Americans who sacrificed so much so that we can continue to enjoy the freedom we being represented here today. To honor, let us honor our living veterans here today for their many sacrifices. Let us honor our servicemen and servicewomen and their families standing guard right now on the Korean Peninsula in defense of freedom, not just in the United States, but around the world. Let us honor all veterans for their courage and their legacy that they've left for us to be free people. This morning we are privileged to honor you, our Korean War veterans, and your families. We owe you a great deed. We owe you our freedom, and we owe you our thanks. I want to personally thank each of you for answering the call of duty. You are an integral part of the strong foundation that has made this nation and our armed forces the most respected in the world. On this special day, we remember and we honor each of you for your service as true American patriots. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, General Ariadis. I'd like to invite the Consul General of the Republic of Korea. As you all know, Korea was the second poorest country in the world at one time. In the middle of, right after the war through the middle of the 60s. Now they enjoy 13th largest economy in the world. How could it happen? You put the base, they work hard. And here's Consul General from Republic of Korea.
Good morning. Mr. Sullivan, President of Mexican Korean Friends Society, and Mr. Gordon Sean, President of Korean Veterans Association. Chapter, and we are with Mr. Shin, that Korean War Meritorious Veterans League of Atlanta, distinct guests, and most of the veterans of Korean War and families. I'm very pleased to attend today's ceremony for remembering Korean War heroes organized by the American Korean Friendship Society. Last month, my office hosted a celebration event to mark 68th anniversary of Korean War in collaboration with the Georgia Department of Veterans Services. On July 27, 1953, 65 years ago today, the armistice agreement of Korean War was signed. Soldiers put down their weapons and emerged from trenches and battles and boarded ship back across the oceans. However, there were no parade to welcome home the souls who shed blood and sweat to preserve freedom and democracy in Korea. Upon returning to the United States, one veteran recalled, "We just came home and took off the uniforms and just went to work." I want to assure you that the Korean War is not a forgotten war. Korea has not forgotten the souls who sit here today. We have not forgotten the souls who made the ultimate sacrifices. It is estimated already mentioned that around 75,000 Georgians served during the Korean War, and sadly, 757 Georgians lost their lives. Already also more than 7,000 Americans still remain deceased. In events such as today and every day, we strive to ensure the Korean War will be remembered in Korea, in the United States, and around the world. The Korean War taught us that we are stronger when we stand as one. We also thought, it also thought that an alliance with a strong sources power and an integral part of long-term peace and stability, as we have witnessed with Korea's development economically and developmentally. The alliance once forced in blood between our two countries remains as strong as ever. Around 28,000 American soldiers serve in Korea today. As you once fought for the ideals of freedom and democracy, today's military men and women stand ready to defend and promote the same ideals. There have been big developments strong Korean peninsula since the beginning of this year. Instead of military confrontations and exchange of sour wars, dialogue has resumed on the Korean peninsula. Following inter-Korean summits in April and May, and the U.S. and North Korea summit was held in Singapore last month, I strongly hope that these dialogues will lead ultimately to the North Korea to the path of denuclearization and ensure peace and stability on the Korean peninsula and throughout the entire world. I ask for your support in these endeavors. In conclusion, I'm truly honored and pleased to commemorate and celebrate with you the eternal heroes of America and Korea. Also, I wish each of you here today a long life and health and happiness. Thank you.
Thank you, Consul General Kim. I'd like to invite Brigadier General Reginald Neal at the Georgia Department of Defense Force. Actually, the National Guard has been part of this commemoration the last 21 years. We thank you, Brigadier General Neal.
General Ellis, Major General Simmons, other distinguished guests, speakers previously mentioned, guests. More importantly, I'd like to give our Korean veterans a hand. Thank you for all that you've done. I was very pleased when my Adjutant General, General Gerard, couldn't be here because he asked me to come and offer some remarks. And I was very appreciative because the Korea War holds a very special place for me and my family. My own father served in Korea in the 2nd Infantry Division during his initial tour when he joined back in 1959, a young kid from Detroit. Also, over the years, I learned that my uncle Clyde, and I think we're going to go to the slide, I'm going to talk about him just briefly, just give you just a glimpse into my own connection with the Korean War. My uncle Clyde Neal served with the 24th Infantry Division during the Korean War. He often reminded us that he was part of the frozen chosen, as he liked to say. This war was significant for him and so many others at that time because it was the first time in U.S. history that our black service members have served up front and center with white units as combat soldiers and airmen, following the desegregation of military formations. I had the opportunity to visit with him before he passed, and he shared with me his Bronze Star citation. This was special because, like so many of your era and veterans of the Korean War, he rarely spoke of their service, probably because of the horrors that many of them experienced during their tours of duty. But his Bronze Star citation read, "For historic actions near Lasal, Korea on 21 September 1951. Corporal Neal was serving as a mortar squad leader of the 4th Platoon when the company moved into attack with task force power. Company G had secured its first objective, and shortly thereafter, intense volleys of enemy small arms fire ensued. Automatic weapons and mortar fire hit directly on his friendly unit. Corporal Neal, realizing the grave situation, moved his 60mm mortar to the peak of the company's objective. He placed his mortar in such a manner to lay fire on the enemy. The enemy began to lay down heavy and direct fire on his position. Corporal Neal, ignoring direct fire upon himself, continued to lay fire on the enemy, scoring several direct hits. His courageous actions aided the company in recovering 25 friendly casualties and prevented countless other fatalities. Because of his actions that day, he was awarded the Bronze Star with V device. And my family is very proud of his service and also of your service. In addition, right here in Georgia, we had 5 units that mobilized in 1950. Georgia National Guard units mobilized on August 14, 1950 with HHB 108 anti-aircraft artillery, the 178th Anti-Aircraft Detachment, 101st Anti-Aircraft Detachment, the 250th Anti-Aircraft, and the 420 Signal Radar Company. On the Air National Guard, we had 8 units, headquarters 116th Air Wing, 158th Fighter Squadron, 158th Weather Section, 128th Fire Squadron, 128th Utility Flight, and the 128th Weather Section. Finally, I want to recognize 5 names on the wall that were members of the Georgia Guard that died. Air National Guard, Captain Barney Castile, the 128th Fighter Squadron, First Lieutenant James Collins, 128th Fighter Squadron, Captain David Mather, 128th Fighter Squadron, Captain James Thompson, John Thompson, 154th Fighter Wing, and First Lieutenant Will Wright, 158th Fighter. Earlier, Sonny mentioned that the remains have come home of our service members. We also have a Georgia Guard soldier, airman that was missing in action, Captain William Mankey, and we hope that one day his remains will return as well. Well, script 1 second. I really appreciate this program and many like it. As a service member who's been serving 31 years with family who have served in Korea, and I look at it and I see, thank you, America, for defending South Korea. That means a lot. That means a lot to myself, that means a lot to veterans and service members. When you go to Seoul and you see the Memorial Park, that means a lot. And we serve all over the world, and not every country is grateful for the service that America has rendered and the freedoms that they have and the opportunities. But South Korea is very grateful, and you show it, and it really means a lot personally. And as a nation, I want to say thank you for all you do.
Brigadier General Neal, thank you very much for your good comment, and thank you for your father, Clyde, Corporal Clyde Neal. Fantastic. 1951, it was a pretty cold, or you know, muggy. It was not a good day. It was not a single good day to my memory. Thank you very much. But there's something you said very unique you think I'm biased, but the South Korea is only one country as American, and then I can talk behalf of America, that there are so many countries that we help. Send the aid, send the troops. So many of our kids got killed, and some of them never come back. However, how many countries among those actually thanking us, actually make most of it, and then help themselves? Again, I'm biased, but I think that South Korea is the only country that is really still a country. Next, I would like to invite Commissioner Gary Black. Commissioner Black is the elected as the Agriculture Commissioner about 4 terms ago. 3 terms? 2 terms. Yeah, I'm a little exaggerated when I make good friends, and I want to exaggerate a little bit. But he's a great commissioner for agriculture. The meats, crops, you name it, he's handling it. He's doing a good job. If you want some peanuts, he's got it. Commissioner Gary Black.
Thank you, Sonny. Good morning. My heroes, an opportunity to be with you here today. Thank you. If today was Thanksgiving, I would not even get to sit at the card table. My job would be to serve you. It is a day of Thanksgiving. I am the son and son-in-law of a Korean War veteran. I look forward to honoring them today. And my distinguished military leadership friends and to you, ladies and gentlemen, Sonny asked me to do this. We've been able to share a couple of times in events at the Capitol. But it is a special day of remembrance for my family as well. I am the son of John Andrew Black. He was born March 31st, 1920, almost in the high plains of Texas. It was not in the productive high plains of Texas. It was actually in the part of Texas that holds the rest of Texas together, not productive for much of anything, except for character and integrity and a work ethic that would be, certainly would fall in line with many of you in many of that generation. I am the son-in-law of Carol Maxon Beavers, Cherokee County, Georgia. He was born 1929. They were part of that generation that were indeed called to service in a very far land. They would be like many of some of us maybe have seen one another before, or maybe we've met at past events. I'm quite certain that your situation would be not much different than theirs. You probably have children who have benefited from that service, and we all have families. But I want to reflect just a minute, and let me give significant warning to those of you who are looking at the program. When you see the keynote, let me assure you that that does not mean long. That means hopefully focused and concise, and I'd like to share a few of the lessons that were taught to me by these Korean War veterans. But a bit about them. My dad retired from the service in 1961. After 23 years of service, he retired as a Master Sergeant. He was a motor pool Master Sergeant. So if any of you understand what that means, which I know you do, that means I learned how to work growing up. I learned how to be respectful of authority. I've already practiced some of the things that I learned from him this morning. And I made my bed this morning the way he taught me. I'm pretty sure I could have bounced a quarter off of it this morning, okay? Well, my wife and I do that together, and that is just an interesting thing. I am the beneficiary of an ability that, although sometimes some people might question my ability to make decisions, the resounding message from my father, it rings in my ear every day. He says, son, you must make decisions. Even if it's only between two, there's 50% chance of being right if you make a decision. But if you choose not to make a decision, you will always be 100% wrong. And those are lessons that come from those experiences. It was my father whose voice I can still hear in my head, that I'm quite certain it was from the foxholes, where even though he may have known it before, it was that comfort brought to him when I heard him as a child, much later, sing, "Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. Oh, but foretaste of glory divine, there is salvation, purchase of God, born of the Spirit, washed in His blood." And he would say, "This is my story, this is my song, praising my Savior all day long. This is my story. This is my song, praising my Savior all day long." And to know that that was a word of comfort. And it still brings in mind. My father-in-law was Carol Maxon Beavers. He was in a little tougher situation. He was first lieutenant of punch bowl. Tough place. And came home with a distinguished career in Fulton County education. He was ultimately a principal, and ultimately the assistant superintendent of schools, Fulton County schools. Still never complained of the fact that though he worked hard all the time, he still didn't have a lot of feelings in his hands. I was broken. But it was always a willingness to help those that were less fortunate than him, because he could remember the tough times that he endured. A person with impeccable character, a person with spine. That's what we long for in this generation. And many other things we can say to them, but I'd like to summarize this. I believe the culmination of their work is, at least in the things that I'm able to articulate and try to remember and conducting myself. There are 15 words that the Lord put together for me in an unusual thing. I think it's 15 words, 5 phrases that bring about the picture of integrity that I was able to learn from these two heroes.
Thank you, Commissioner Black. It was emotional, very meaningful. As you know, you just walk in. Many of you have never been in this house. This is our community center, and we call it cultural center. We spent so many years, about 130,000 strong Korean American members, raised money, selling candies, and then accumulate that pennies, and we got this. We're very proud that having the house. What third party called this community center is the largest that a community center in overseas that Korean is in overseas. So we're very proud. Next speaker, the Kim Hong-il. Mr. Kim is the president of the Korean American Association, and he handles all the community works, good works, and then ugly works, but he's the man doing things every day. Mr. Kim?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Ilong Kim. I am the president of the Korean American Association of Greater Atlanta. I welcome each and everyone who have come out today. Please look towards the screen that are provided for you while I will be speaking in Korean. The screens will have English translated. Thank you. 안녕하십니까. 애틀랜타 한인회장 김일홍입니다. 오늘 한미국어협회가 개최하는 행사에 참석하여 주신 모든 여러분께 감사 말씀드리겠습니다. 또한 이 깊은 자리를 만들어 주신 우리 서기마 회장님께 감사 말씀드립니다. 지금 여기 모이신 여러분들은 68년 전에 한국이라는 이름도 모르는 나라의 전쟁에 참전을 하였습니다. 그 당시 한국은 세계에서 가장 가난하고 굶주린 나라였습니다. 그렇게 못 사는 나라가 공산주의로부터 침략을 당해 전쟁의 어려움을 겪을 때 오늘 여기 계신 여러분들은 자유민주주의와 한국민을 지키기 위해 용감히 싸워주셨습니다. 그 당시 여러분들의 희생이 한국민을 살렸으며 오늘날 한국이 세계 무대에 우뚝 설 수 있는 나라로 만들어 주셨습니다. 지금 한국은 세계에서 10번째 가는 무역국으로 성장 발전하였습니다. 여러분들의 희생이 없었으면 과연 오늘의 한국이라는 나라가 존재하였을까요? 저는 애틀랜타 한인회장으로서 한인들을 대표해서 여기 계신 여러분들에게 경의를 표하며 고마움과 감사의 인사를 드립니다. 현재 국제 정세는 빠르게 변하고 있습니다. 얼마 전에 열렸던 남북 정상회담과 싱가포르에서 열린 미국 정상회담을 계기로 평화의 무드가 조성되고 있는 것도 사실이지만 한편으로는 걱정이 앞서는 것도 사실입니다. 그동안 우리가 경험했던 것은 북한이 한 번도 약속을 지키지 않았던 것을 우리는 잘 알고 있습니다. 이제는 여러분이 피흘려 지켜주신 자유와 방국이 다시는 전쟁에 휩싸이지 않도록 기도하여야 합니다. 또한 내가 살고 있는 미국, 그리고 여러분의 조국인 미국에 항상 신의 가호가 있기를 기도합니다. God bless America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. He works very hard. The term of a president in the Korean American Association is 2 years. He just begun first year, and he's did a fantastic job. We're proud of him. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Oban Rom. Mr. Oban Rom is Secretary of Korean War Veterans Association of Atlanta, but also the chapter under the name of Raymond Davis, Marine Corps General, retired, and late Marine Corps General, Medal of Honor recipient, and he has done such a good thing for not only Korea, the United States and Korea, but the war veterans throughout the country. So, Mr. Ron.
Just a little over a year ago, our chapter was undergoing a complete change. We had lost our longtime president, Bob McCubbin, our Secretary of Treasury, Jim Conway. They are missed. We have regrouped, though. We've done a good job. Gordon is our president. Norman Gordon is our vice president. Myself is Secretary of Treasury. We have a good board of directors, and we're moving on. I feel a little overwhelmed. A lowly, non-com short-timer in such a group of ranking officers, state officials, consul generals, etc., and other honored guests. I want to give my thoughts on the theme of remembering our comrades. First of all, our chapter wants to thank Sonny Park and the American Korean Society, Friendship Society, for sponsoring this annual event, and Mr. and Mrs. Yulin for treating us to the lunch. Thank you very much. It's hard to believe that 68 years has passed since the start of the Korean War. It started out as another communist Cold War tactic, but it soon became apparent it was to be a major conflict. As the war increased, National Guard units were called up, World War II reservists were called up, and the draft kicked into 5 years. Looking back, I was a 19-year-old who just finished 2 years of college and seeking summer employment. With the draft status of 1A, I knew I would soon be called up or would enlist. Let me fast forward now. We have gone from teenagers to 80-year-old plus. We have married and had children, grandchildren, in many cases, great-grandchildren. The same can be said for South Korea, which has developed into a world-class power. In 1979, I returned to Korea with my wife, Carol. It was our 25th wedding anniversary. And our oldest daughter was living in Korea, teaching in the schools. She had arranged a tour of the country from the DMZ to the island of Jeju-do, which is off the south coast, about 300 or 400 miles. I couldn't believe what I had seen. From the rubbles of Seoul, Daegu, and Busan had arisen a beautiful country. High-rise buildings were going up, subways were being built, electric trains ran the length of the country, and the countryside was alive. The old thatched houses were gone, and colorful roof houses dotted the countryside. It was unbelievable what had taken place in 26 short years. All of this came about because the determination was willing to sacrifice to make their country a success. Most importantly, though, it came about at the loss of over 30,000 American lives, over 100,000 wounded in action, and to this date, still over 7,000 MIAs. In addition, there were thousands upon thousands of Koreans who lost their lives, their homes, and their relatives. To this date, millions of families have never been reunited. Let us hope with the thawing of relations between our country and North Korea, these families will be reunited, and North Korean families, and the remains of our MIAs will be returned. Now let me go to a different thought, remembering our comrades. Through the years, when I hear of a combat death, I wonder what kind of person was behind that name. Were they a student, farmer, auto mechanic pumping gas in a filling station, or a common laborer in the building trades? Did they leave behind parents, girl or boyfriends, siblings, fiancés, or wives? When they entered the service, did they understand the journey and the perils ahead? Myself and millions of others went about our training and eventually were assigned to a unit, not giving much thought except to do our job and returning home. Sadly, some 30,000 did not return home. When the telegram was delivered to their loved ones, what impact did it have? Their loss was one we can't imagine, and one that they would live with for a long time. The same can be said for those who were wounded severely and how their lives were changed. Time heals a lot, and over the past 68 years, many changes have taken place in the world we live in. As we Koreans, veterans, look back, we can take satisfaction in that we did our best, and our best saved millions of lives, and they now live in a free society. Although the Korean War has been called a forgotten war, it has not been forgotten by those of us who served. We are proud to have served a good cause, and one that has returned great rewards. Let us take a few seconds in this ceremony to pray to our God, whoever he may be, to remember the 30,000 who did not come home. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ram. I was a little worried if General Brown couldn't make it here. I've been watching all over and I didn't see it. Now I see him spotted over there. It's the General Brown, Billy Brown, is a three-star general, the pastor, Reverend Brown, or either General Brown, of course retired. But he is representing Rome chapter. And he came with the other comrades from Rome, Georgia. Actually, he lives in Chattanooga, I think. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. And I'd like to invite General Brown, Pastor Brown, for his comment returning the message. Please.
Thank you, sir. I was with a lost patrol for a while. I asked God to give me remarks because I've been asked to respond on behalf of Korean War veterans. I know you. I remember you. I parachuted into Korea when I was 16. I entered the military at 14 and spent time in the 5th Infantry Division, and later at 16 found myself parachuting into Korea. And I was asked one time in an interview why defining experience during that time. I didn't know what to say because it has never ended. The experience that began then has gone on and grown throughout all my life. Because I remember I found myself faced with what all the training had been about. I didn't see John Wayne anywhere or any of those things, you know, it was quite different. And I found myself experiencing something that I wished I was back eating a hamburger, drinking a milkshake, listening to the jukebox. But then it was different. That I was in a time of my life that I felt that we were stripped completely of our humanity. And other than what we might little know about God, some of us, our dependence would be upon that and the guy next to us. Because that's who we had to trust in. We knew very little about any politics. But I have thought a lot since then, putting things together. You don't have much time to analyze, do you? That not only did we have the faith and trust in you, our fellow soldiers, but something even far more important. Sometimes as we exchange rations and talked about things, and somebody would say, well, do you think everybody will ever even remember or hear? And so it was like we were placing then not only our lives, but would we ever be remembered? More than our life, that someone knew we were there. You know, we came back, and in the shadow of World War II, we had found that that great generation, unique generation, won freedom for us in World War II, and then we were in a scrap that was in the shadow of it. And so we did not get much thanks from our country when we came home. But you know something? We never forgot you, folks, Mr. Parker. You never forgot us. And I carried a lot of guilt, like some of you. And in 1978, I had an invitation to go back to Korea. I had the opportunity to speak in a church, to speak in schools, to visit into the hospitals, to go to a military base. And I had Billy Kim as an interpreter during that time on the military base. And saw these fine young soldiers, 13,500 on the parade ground, and several hundred stand to their feet in front of their gear and pray for salvation. That was a moving experience. The great thing was landing in Seoul and being in shock for about 48 hours, because I remembered leaving there when the country was in rubble. We didn't know a lot about politics, did we? But we learned what the ugly face of war is, and the purpose of why we were there when we looked into the faces of the children. The homes that were destroyed, families that were broken up, untold suffering that I doubt if ever we could find a vocabulary to describe it. A country that was just torn asunder. And yet I found the beauty of a new country, a new nation. I remember walking across the part of town at 4:30 in the morning, going to the church for prayer service. that they held every morning at 4:30. And all of the beauty that was everywhere, the glowing faces of children, 1,000 voices of young people singing in the choir, so beautiful. That they had arisen out of the rubble and out of the ashes like the phoenix of old, and a great victory. And I was just thinking a little while ago, and looking around as we do every year, these beautiful faces, and I think back and people were dressing those that didn't make it. And we live with them every day. I live with them every day, and I said, Mac, I wish you could see the faces of these beautiful young people. Warren, I wish you could be here. I wish you could experience what we can experience here today. And I think of this, because of you and what you have extended to us, the Korean people. You built a great nation, and you built it out of the rubble with dignity and honor. One of the great nations of our world today, progress everywhere, working hard, and some have come to our country, helping to make our country great. And we thank you so much for that. But I can say this, as we look at names, I go to Fort Campbell and I look at our memorial and the names that are there. And I see faces, and as we think of these names that are here, they represent young men. And as we look at them, we can say, your sacrifice was not in vain. You have not been forgotten. And thank you. God bless you. For all.
General Brown, thank you very much. It's so meaningful. Next, we want to recognize the Korean War veterans. This means our young students, Korean Americans. By the way, one more item to brag. The Korea is, I think, the only country in the world still teaching the kids what you have done to South Korea. They learn, they're young, however, they understand what you have done. So they will come in with a little flower, pin it on your left heart, and give you a big bear hug. They don't have a bear-looking body, but this is the time. So I'd like to invite Bo Kim, the Vice President of the Society. We'll call your name, and then as our students come up and present you a flower.
Thank you, Mr. Park. This is the most important part of the event, the way I view it. I have a 9-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter. There's a lot of superhero movies out nowadays, and so I have to think about what I tell them a hero is. And it's really actually not very complicated, actually. A hero is someone who sacrifices for others, and they do their duty for something greater than themselves. That's it. So, on behalf of all the Korean Americans, the Americans of Korean ancestry, like myself, we know about your sacrifices and your family's sacrifices. We know we wouldn't be here but for you. We know about this country's sacrifices. And on their behalf, on my behalf, on behalf of my kids and their kids, we thank you. We'll always remember, we'll never forget. I'm going to call each of the war veterans that are here by name and just individually recognize each one of them. So, first person is Mr. Dan Allison. Can you come up, please? Mr. Richard Austin. Mr. Charlie Black. Mr. Norman Boyd. Jeffrey Brown. Mr. Jack Cox. Mr. Jack Enkerman. Mr. Ed Gintner. Mr. Ralph Brizard. Mr. Stanley Fisher. Mr. Stratton Frank. Mr. Harry Jones. Mr. David Lee. Mr. Tony Lazaro. Mr. Ben Malcolm. Ben Malcolm. Mr. Rick Meehan. Mr. Frank Petraglia. Mr. Irving Rump. Mr. Rodney Reckner. Mr. Gordon Sherman. Gordon Sherman. Mr. Thaddeus Sobieski. No. German. Mr. Ed Sills. Mr. John Pennington. Mr. Austin tried to sneak out. Mr. Richard Austin. Mr. Darrell Whitney. Mr. George Wiley. Now, which very young-looking gentleman did I leave out? Because I'm sure I left someone out. The worst I feel all year is when this happens. Did I leave anyone out? I'll recognize Gerald Larry Taylor. There's things to be some. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. He's a senior lawyer at the Security Exchange Commission. He does a good job of defending criminals, but he did an even better job at presenting flowers. Now, the highlight of the event. This is a copy, the photograph of the Korean War Veterans Memorial in the state capitol ground. 740 Georgians killed in Korean War, as we engrave and present there. Georgia, the Korean Americans who live in Georgia, created 1991 on Veterans Day. It's in state, the capitol ground. We used to have the wreath laying ceremony at the site. We brought it inside the capitol. Now we brought here first time. We have this is a hit. We have about 10 wreaths. We started with 1, 2, 3 grown. Now we have about 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we got 9 wreaths. Hope those who fought in Korea and got killed, hear our voice, hear our heartbeat. And our message, thank you to them. It's not particular order, but I'm going to call as it printed. First, read presentation will be the Republic of Korea. Don't mention. This little man. When you read, be careful of the staff and leave it on the side of that monument. Be careful of the staff. Thank you. Next will be the Korean War Veterans Chapters. Atlanta, Raymond Davis Chapter. we have a Rome chapter. Read Rome chapter. Read. Are you? No. No. You brought the read? No. Okay. All right. There it is. Rome chapter. Please. No. Gainesville. Oh yeah, Gainesville. Okay. Gainesville, please. Gainesville chapter, Korean War Veterans Association. Rotary Club. Atlanta Rotary Club is the only Rotary Club I know have a troop supporting committee. They are representing troops of the United States. Korean American Association of Greater Atlanta. USO. We're proud of USO. The US of Georgia is one of the top USO chapters council in the world. American Korean Friendship Society, actually General Ellis and Paul Kim. Next is last. It is from the Korean International Wives Association. Thank you very much. We didn't request them, but they volunteered. This is a beautiful wreath. Wow. Like I said earlier, you started 1 wreath, 2, 3, growing up to now 8 of them. Thank you very much. Next, we're going to ask you to Hope Johns Creek Youth Orchestra. This is the 17th appearance for this event. And the members keep changing. They're high school boys and girls, but actually they graduate and they go to college. But the Hope Johns Creek Youth Orchestra have been serving with same spirit for this commemoration. And conductor John Rock. God bless America and Iran. They're going to play. Please rise for retiring colors.